Hello and welcome to Default Assault, where we take on everything by default. Now, we've been taking things on by default for a little while. In fact, one of the very first episodes we did on this show was discussing the upcoming, at the time, it was like 17, upcoming Disney remakes.
Yes.
Broke them down one by one. Mostly, I think there was mostly a consensus about this is a terrible idea, this is a terrible idea. There were a couple here and there that had some possibility. I think Black Cauldron was one that we both talked about having possibility, although that hasn't moved anywhere since then. But there have been a few announcements and a few additions to that list since then, one of them being the most recent Lady and the Tramp Disney Plus remake. Well, Hollywood Reporter just announced yet another one. BAMBI Remake in the works with Captain Marvel Chaos Walking writers. Exclusive.
Hili Niwazu Mbaya. Okay? Hili Niwazu Mbaya.
Gina Robertson, I'm going to butcher the name, Dworet, and Lindsay Beer, that I'm not going to mess up, will pen.
You're going to need a lot of it after watching this. Fireball!
I'm going to need a lot of it after reading this. Will pen the adaptation of the 1942 animated Disney classic. In the latest move to turn its animated classics into live-action features, Disney has set its sights on one of its most storied, BAMBI. Insiders say the studio views BAMBI as a type of companion piece to its remakes, The Jungle Book and The Lion King, which were not live action per se, but certainly made to look the way the two, both hits, Lion King generated $1.65 billion, was released last year, were made using envelope-pushing CG technology to create groundbreaking, photorealistic, and immersive worlds of nature. Too bad they couldn't get human emotion on these immersive worlds of nature, but nevertheless, the studio is cognizant that BAMBI is less epic in scope and story, and is not aiming to shoehorn a larger narrative onto the classic tale, which is the one line in all of this that mollifies me a little bit. But before I keep blathering on, Kyle, what are your thoughts about this? And is BAMBI really a story or a film that needs a big scale remake?
Okay, bro, listen, first of all, ain't nobody needing any of these things to be remade.
Good point.
That fireball right there is a fact, okay? So I don't want to hear about any remakes being necessary, okay? That all being said, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole, even out of the theater, unless this very distinctive thing happens. Larry the Cable Guy, Bill Engvall, and Ted Nugent play the hunters that shoot Bambi's mother. Other than that, I don't give a damn, okay? That's all I'm saying.
I don't really have high hopes, even with the people that are involved. I didn't think that Captain Marvel, in particular, I haven't seen Chaos Walking, so there's space in just this one film, which is, I know, a snapshot, but whatever. I didn't think it was a particularly well-written film to begin with. The beauty of BAMBI was its simplicity. And despite the fact that it was the story of this young deer who grows up, that's the story, and the trials and tribulations on the way, losing a parent, etc., etc. It's a very human story, despite the fact that it's in the forest.
I could argue that Circle of Life belongs more in this movie than it does in The Lion King.
Well, we've already gone over on this channel how The Lion King is a grander remake of BAMBI, except in BAMBI, there is no true villain other than man, who is in his own way a force of nature. It's a beautiful film, and the thing that really sets BAMBI apart is the fact that there's very little dialogue in the film, with the exception of Fantasia. It probably has the least amount of dialogue of any Disney film. It relies solely on visual storytelling, and when it comes to animation, it is easily one of the top 5 best animated films ever made. It's visually striking, and it accentuates the artistic grace of its story.
That's a strong take. I like I said, listen, I've set my terms, okay? Larry the Cable Guy, Bill Engvall, Ted Nugent. Here we go.
I've made fun of this. I'm definitely not the only one who's made fun of this.
No one will be the last, Demosthenes.
No, but my biggest issue with the Lion King remake, other than the fact that it was a shot-for-shot remake, which I'll touch on in just a second, is the fact that you lose quite a bit when you can't display the emotions onto these photorealistic animals. And if you were to do that, it would immediately contradict the setting which they're trying to convey. Let's just say this. Cats are much more expressive than deer, to begin with. I mean, do I need to say more?
I'd prefer you didn't, because now all I can think of is that really, really, really bad computer rendering of a Broadway play that was made into a movie that shouldn't have been.
I'm not talking about those kind of cats. And in fact, I think a lot of the people who saw that said they were too damn sexual. So,
well, I mean, dude, just review the plot. Like, at least 3 of the cats, their storyline is this cat. That's basically it.
If they were going to do a film adaptation of that play,
again,
it either should have been in the style which it was represented on stage, which would have been weird enough in live action film, mind you, or the best approach would have been animation. So anyway, directors Ron Clements and John Musker, who are Disney directors who did animated films such as The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Moana, which is one of your favorites, recently decided to talk with The Hollywood Reporter about some of their previous work and their feelings towards the live-action remakes. And John Musker had this to say, specifically in regards to The Lion King.
Wazumbaya. No?
Maybe you should explain what that means in Swahili in case you will miss the previous episode.
This is a bad idea.
John Musker says, I love to see new techniques being explored in animation. Okay, that's fair. I also like the idea that the medium has enough elasticity and potential that there are many types of stories that have yet to be done in animation, and I am hoping in the coming years they will be. I am bemused by the live-action remakes, although the more successful ones, to me, are the ones, ironically, that reinterpret the source to a greater degree, like Maleficent. I think Favreau's a brilliant filmmaker, but the shot-for-shot fealty to the hand-drawn Lion King, as well as the inexpressive animation in his film, left me uninvolved. In general, I would rather see more original content, and fairy tales, particularly by their nature, don't seem to accommodate or demand the extension and or repetition of their self-contained narrative arcs. But can Frozen 2 just made more than $1 billion, so what the heck do I know?
Yeah, there's that. I say so. Can I translate all that? Fireball! Stop it!
That's not the most Disney way of saying it, although now that I censored you with Mickey Mouse, maybe it is the Disney way of saying it.
Fireball! Stop it!
Bambi? I'm sorry, man. I mean, after Dumbo didn't do that well. And you think that Bambi will?
Well, here's the thing. You know, I find movie audiences more inclined to go to productions where they'll feel good about themselves and at the end of the movie, and knowing that they'll have a happy ending and that they'll have a bit of a laugh and, you know, maybe some tears early on to set the table. I mean, hell, Pixar's mastered that. Am I right? But, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to want a movie that makes them laugh and feel good about themselves at the end. And when it comes to, Oh, Bambi's the one where mom got shot. Never mind. They're stupid.
Both characters, both are coming-of-age stories.
In a matter of speaking. Dumbo doesn't go nearly as far as Bambi does. His mother was only sent to a mental institute for elephants. Bambi is a bit of a gut punch. And as the movie progresses, it gets darker and more adult themes creep in, which is quite natural to the extension of its story. It's perfect. I honestly think that Bambi is a practically perfect film for what it is. I'm not excited about the remake. I don't think there's anything in particular that they can add to accentuate that story. Damn, what's next? A live-action, quote-unquote, remake of The Three Caballeros? I don't think that people can handle that. I don't know that would be legal in the lower 48 states.
Right?